Have you ever wondered how the Old Testament was preserved over hundreds of years? Welcome to Bible on the Go with Dr. Dan. What is the Masoretic Text? Well, it all started right within, let's say, 100 years of the return of the people of God from exile to Babylon under Nehemiah, who built the walls, and then Ezra, who reinstituted the worship of Yahweh and building the temple in 516 or 17. Well, around 400 BC, just little over 100 years later, and before Alexander began to take over the world with his Greek culture, Sopherim, or scribes of Judaism, from about 400 years before Jesus to 200 years after Jesus in 200 AD, tried to establish and maintain the true text of the Old Testament. How did they do this? Well, they made a practice of counting the verses, the words, and the letters of each Bible book in the Old Testament, and then cataloging this information in such a way that for copyists would know that they were copying down the exact words of the manuscripts that they had studied for all these years. And this was a very tight, specific process from copy to copy to copy. In fact, the traditional Hebrew text, what would be called the Masoretic Text, achieved its standard form early in the 2nd century AD. Now, you might recall in our video on the Dead Sea Scrolls, when those were found in 1948, how well they matched up with this received text. Well, the work of the Masoretes picked up where the Sopherim and scribes left off, and we're talking about AD 500 to 950, so 450 years. Who were these Masoretes? Well, they preserved the writing of the oral traditions called the Masorah concerning the biblical text. These Jewish scholars lived in Tiberias, right by the Sea of Galilee, and most prominent among them was Rabbi Ben Asher and his son Aaron. And the present text of the Hebrew Bible, for example, is based on the Ben Asher text. Well, the special contributions of the Masoretes was to provide the text with vowels and accent marks. Now, in the original, when it was written down, there are no vowels. But in the oral telling of it, of course, the vowels began to emerge. And this system was based on the pronunciation of the synagogues and schools. And so they didn't make up the vowels. They simply came up with a system of dots and dashes underneath the Hebrew consonants that would show what vowels were coming up next. This is referred to by people who study Hebrew as a vowel pointing system, and it was developed by the Masoretes. Well, their task was amazing, and it has served the church and scholarship well, because now in Hebrew we have all these vowel pointers that help people who are learning Hebrew know where they come up. But what's so crucial to keep in mind is that the Masoretes did not invent this. They just captured what was in the oral tradition, which makes it really special, and it came to be known as the Masoretic Text. Thanks for watching Bible on the Go, Dr. Dan. If you like these videos, one of the best things you can do is subscribe. But another really good thing you can do is to share. And I appreciate all of you who've been sharing and subscribing and watching these videos. We have over 417 videos now, and you just got to go in the search bar, type in anything you want to discover, like the Shema, or the Fertile Crescent, or the New Testament, or the Book of Acts, or whatever, and it'll pull up the associated videos, and that way you won't have to search through all 417 of them. Thank you so much for watching.